Were you rooting for the Wolves?
I'm not a Wolverine fan either, but I'm a Harbaugh fan.
Okay.
So, and I don't like Notre Dame. So, obviously, I was rooting for the Wolverines because I just think Notre Dame's overrated. I think Notre Dame gets rated a lot of times just because they're Notre Dame, but Notre Dame hasn't done anything in a while. The year that they did make it to the playoffs, to me, they weren't a very good football team. They were just okay, and they got exposed once they got in the playoffs. So, I think Brian Kelly's a great coach. I think he's done a heck of a job at that program. But Notre Dame doesn't have the same – they're not the same Notre Dame. They don't have the same mystique. Before, when they were on television all the time, and that was really the only team that you saw on national TV all the time, they had an advantage because every kid wanted to play at Notre Dame. They wanted to be on TV. Well, now with cable and all the different ESPN networks and the different local networks, kids are on TV all the time now, so they don't have that same advantage that they once had. So they can't get the best kids anymore. They used to get the best kids. They don't get the best kids anymore. So, I was rooting for Michigan, no question about it.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, we have a couple more minutes. I'm going to extend you a little bit. So, the Atlanta Falcons situation, we'll put you back in the pros for like about 2.5 minutes, okay? I know there was talk about Dan Quinn being fired in the middle of the season, but I don't see Arthur Blank as the type of guy that would fire somebody midway through. But obviously it seems like Dan Quinn may need another residence pretty soon. What do you think? What are you hearing over there?
Yeah, well, they want his head on the platter. That's what it is. It's sad to hear it. This guy took this team to the Super Bowl not too long ago. Had the Super Bowl won if they would have just ran the football. But I hate to hear it because obviously you're talking about somebody's livelihood. But that's the business that he chose to be in, and this is some of the things that you have to deal with being in that business. The Falcons are disillusioned fans, in my opinion. They're no different than Detroit fans. Their team is no different than Detroit, except they've gotten lucky a couple times and they've been able to make it to the Super Bowl. But for the most part, every year you're excited about the team, just like we are about the Lions. We say, hey, this is going to be our year. And then, 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, we'll get them next year. They don't understand that they have the same problem here that we have in Detroit, but they think that their team is the best and that they should be competing for a Super Bowl every year. They're just not that's not this team. Yeah, they have some talent at key positions, obviously at the quarterback position. They got some wide receivers that can play. The defense has not been good this year. The defense has been terrible. And, unfortunately, that's supposed to be Dan Quinn's area of expertise, and it's not showing on the football field. So, he's probably going to lose his job. Arthur Blank, I think, is probably reluctant to do it during the season because then you're really just saying, hey, this season, we're just going to forget about this season and we're just going to worry about next season. So that also sends a message to your players as well. You don't have anything to go out there and fight for. At least they can try to fight for keeping their head coach's job. If they like him the way that they say they like him and respect him and, it's not his fault, at least they'll have that to go out there and fight for. Say, hey, let's go out here and fight and try to keep our head coach.
Yeah, it's funny how you say that. Everybody brought in Quinn because of his defensive ability. Matt Patricia struggling in Detroit. He was known for a defensive coach. Where did that go? Down the same similar road without a doubt. So it's interesting how you find comparisons between the two situations where, just because you bring in a defensive coordinator doesn't mean that your defense is going to allow 10 points a game. When in retrospect, it regresses a little because that defensive coordinator has to manage 53 people, not 26.
Right,
and
exactly.
That's something that people don't really seem to understand, but they'll find out soon enough, depending on what all the additional trends are. All right, well.
And then again, you have to think about who you're going to replace him with. That's the other thing. Who are you going to replace him with?
Yeah, that's what you always find out. The only one that, to me, the only thing that ever made sense to me as we closed the segment was when the Pistons fired Rick Carlisle, they brought in Larry Brown. They won a championship. But other than that, how many of those who you going to replace them with exist that actually amount to what that bottom line and result turned out to be? So good stuff. So
absolutely.
So meanwhile, Mel, guess what? You've got a new role. We've decided to make you our college football analyst. Embrace it. Looking forward to seeing what we come up with next week. Okay, partner?
All right. Take care.
Hey, nice job, Mel. We'll talk soon, okay? Enjoy the college football.
Right.
Now that you have a vested interest in it, okay?
Absolutely.
I'll give you a scorecard next week. All right. Thank you, Mel. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lewis. Mr. Farr did pretty well.
You didn't hear what I slipped in? I said Mel Kiper III.
Yeah, I caught that.
Because of the Mel, but I want to talk a little bit about Clemson real quick. I'm looking at their schedule here, and they're 9-0. Do you think a little bit of why they're not number one right now has to do with the fact that of their last 3 games, only one of those 3 teams is ranked in the AP Top 25, and it's number 19, Wake Forest?
Yeah, but you know what? I can answer that question by saying this, okay? The game against North Carolina, where they nearly lost that, probably led to a little bit less respect by the committee that they should have walked over North Carolina, and they didn't. But again, that's an interesting point. We have a few weeks to go. It'll be interesting to see. All you have to do is get in the Final Four anyways.
And this isn't a question I think we discussed at all, or topic at least, because we haven't really talked enough college football. And, maybe this is something I can ask Shanahan when he comes on if we get a chance to. But Trevor Lawrence, you look at his recruiting stuff coming out of high school. The dude was considered like a generational talent. And obviously, so far, he's been that way. From your perspective as somebody, and I've seen it as well, where a lot of great college quarterbacks just don't pan out in the NFL, do you think he's going to be one of those cases where he actually just tends to work?
You know what, though, Lewis? Quarterbacks are such hit and miss. You've been around me long enough to think that some of these guys that should be first-round picks don't pan out. It's just hard to tell. It depends on what you have in your heart, and it depends on the system that you're in and the coach. Some of your best quarterbacks don't pan out because they've had 2, 3, 4 head coaches in a short period of time, and that's what you have. So, you know what? It's a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence certainly has a pedigree. It's not like Deshaun Watsons are born on trees.
No, they're not. Or Tom Brady's come out of nowhere,
Right. No, Deshaun Watson, Dabo Swinney pegged him out to be a heck of a player. He's lived up to his billing in a big way. He really, really has.
It kind of sucks as a football fan knowing that Lawrence can't declare for the draft until next season, I believe, right? I don't think he can go. But I would love to see him. I'm not going to say he's ready now. I haven't watched enough footage of him, but from what the numbers say, he looks like he's going to be a stud in the NFL. But again, look at Tim Tebow the year he won the Heisman at Florida, and I think he won a national championship with them. The dude, he had a little bit of success with Denver, but he just never panned out because he didn't adapt to the NFL and the defenses in the NFL.
Tim Tebow's problem was when he had an opportunity to play quarterback in Jacksonville, he took the Wildcat and the money of the Big Apple. And as a result, his career was derailed because of what I consider an egotistical bad decision. Jacksonville has been looking for a quarterback and a hometown kid. He would have put people in the stands without a doubt. But if he wanted to play quarterback in the league that bad, that would have been the place to go. Josh McDaniels had him in New England. He wasn't good enough at all, but he does have a playoff win, but that's as far as he compliments him with Tim Tebow.
Yeah, him, and we're not even going to get started on him playing baseball. That's like putting a shoe in the dishwasher.
Right.
It's been a disaster.
I'm with you.
So, yeah, I know. Again, but, Lawrence, it's always weird when we see these college quarterbacks have the success that we do, because the first thing that we tend to think of, because the natural cynicism of a sports fan is, how's he going to do in the NFL? Because we've seen guys like Ryan Leaf, and you know what? I think Lawrence has his head on a little bit more straight than Leaf did. And
well, that doesn't take much.
Yeah, exactly. But I think he's got his head on straight better than a lot of these guys. DeMarcus Russell being another one who, I think he'll be fine. I'm very excited to see. I kind of just want to fast forward a year and see what he looks like in an NFL uniform. Where could he possibly go? We don't know because we have another year of college football we have to play, and we have another year of NFL we have to play. We just have to wait and see.
Well, the one thing I should point out before Bill Winters comes on the program, okay, and he's going to be picking the NFL games. I want to see how this format works.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'll contribute more to that.
My point is how many, when you look at UCLA, how many quarterbacks they produce, because they technically produced Troy Aikman as Russell Wilson came out of Wisconsin, even though that wasn't their first stop. Of course, nowadays the transfer portals guys are going everywhere. It's not like, UCLA is known for being a quarterback haven either, although Josh Rosen got hosed in both his 2 places too. But Troy Aikman had a good career coming out of, UCLA.
Yeah, he had a nice supporting cast around him. Obviously, Jimmy Johnson, Parcells, and
yeah, but don't tell me about what his supporting cast was with UCLA when he came out. That's where I'm going with it. And remember, he struggled that first year with Jimmy Johnson. They had to build it from the ground up.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I just can't wait to see Trevor Lawrence in an NFL uniform. I think, and his personality too. He looks like he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be around for a long time. But again, we just have to wait and see.
Well, you will. I mean, it's inevitable. They all go ahead and graduate. They all do what they got to do. So we'll go from there. So, again, time will play out. Again, though, your top quarterbacks don't have to come in the first round. You find out they can be sprinkled throughout the draft.
Now that upcoming LSU game, is that a home game for the Tigers, or is that Crimson Tide playing at home in Alabama and Birmingham? Because well,
it's not Birmingham, it's Tuscaloosa.
Well, I'm sorry, but still, I mean, who's the home team? Because I believe a little bit in home field advantage.
The game's in Tuscaloosa.
Okay, you know what? I think Saban's going to have him on his side. They'll win. It'll be interesting. I think that game's going to be a bloodbath, though. It's going to be. You may see very little defense in that game, or you may see a very close, conservative played game. I don't know. I mean, Tua's healthy, although given that he's had some injury problems this season, it may be interesting to see, quarterback for LSU steps up. You know his name. I'm not 100% sure who their quarterback is at the moment, but, I don't know, man. I mean, matchups like this are what you wait all season for. They're the ones that you circle on the calendar. I think at this point, just given how strong those programs have been for such a long time, you have an idea, how good of a game that's going to be before it even comes on.
We'll find out. Meanwhile, we are glad to have Bill Winters on the show. Bill, thank you very much for being back here. Mel Farr did a great job predicting college football. Now you're getting an opportunity in a potentially new role picking NFL games. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
I'll do a little bit. Instead of doing some of this old serious stuff, I want to find out what Bill Winters, the prognosticator. If I find out that this experiment works with you two, then we might have a pretty good way to wrap up the football season with both you guys picking football games. So,
sounds like fun.
Well, yeah. You know what? I always like to experiment to make the show better, and this is one of those nights where we're doing exactly that. So we're going to get right to the football games. I don't have the Chargers and the Raiders in front of me. Lewis don't need to give me an update right now either.
No.
We're talking prognostication. And, Bill, we're going to lead off with the Chargers against the Raiders, the future Las Vegas Raiders.
I got the Raiders in this game, even though right now the Chargers are leading the game. I just like Oakland down the stretch with their run game. And it looks like they're knocking at the door right now to take the lead just before the half or at least get a field goal. But I like them for the game.
Okay. Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. As Chris Berman would say, an NFC North Division battle. That's a great line by Berman. North Division.
All right, I'm going to take the Bears in this game.
All right, who did you pick with the Chargers?
The Raiders.
Oh, you went with the Raiders. Okay, I got a highlight. Mm-hmm. And you're taking the Bears? Okay.
Yep, I think the Bears are going to pull out a win. Trubisky's going to play his way out of that funk.
Okay, well, the Lions usually struggle in Soldier Field, especially when things get colder. Take it from a guy that's covered games over there. And believe me, I've seen the good days and I've seen the cold ones along Lake Michigan. It gets cold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's one that should be an easier one, the Miami Dolphins and the Indianapolis Colts.
The Colts, even with a backup quarterback, if they rest Brissett, I think they have enough to beat the Dolphins.
Okay. Carolina Panthers against the Green Bay Packers. This would be an interesting game.
I'm going to take the Packers. I just think that game last week was an aberration. That happens to teams that get big leads in divisions and they start getting full of themselves, and this game sets them back down to earth, and they'll just go back to be the Packers that they were before. So I'm taking it back all the way.
Do you think that McCaffrey could struggle if the weather conditions get out of control because he's been on a roll?
No, I think that he's going to do really, really fine, but I think that the Green Bay Packers are more balanced attack will win.
And not only that, Devontae Adams just another week with Rodgers to try to get synced as well. So,
Now, they're coming off of laying an egg, so that's a wake-up call for the team. So they'll go out and win that game.
Well, we talked about this a little bit last night on our show. But we got the Baltimore Ravens, a team that took care of business against the Patriots, against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, this is going to be a trap game. My sources are telling me that the quarterback, Lamar Jackson, has got a viral infection. And he's not feeling really well. Okay, but I still like the Ravens in a close one to win the game.
Okay.
The thing I would tell you is a lot of these teams, even the lesser-known teams, on any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody, okay? And you got to be careful sometimes. The Ravens are coming off an emotional win. All right, and they got to be ready to play next week in a team that needs to get a win. And Cincinnati's not a pushover; they play team stuff, but they're the Bengals.